Hey, what's up, guys? Matt here, and today I thought I'd give you a little update on some of the repairs and fixes and things that I go through because I never do that, and honestly, I'm fixing my stuff all the time. So, got a couple decent examples. One of them happens to be the new Losi, so I thought it'd be a good time to give you a little feedback on that. But what I got on the bench here right now is the Outcast, and you guys can see my Outcast takes a little abuse. I'm pretty big on sending this thing as hard as I can, so but I'm good at landing. I don't break it a whole lot. She's just really scraped up, and she's very dirty. I usually clean them real well, but I got to do some repairs, so I haven't cleaned this yet. But the only reason we're even fixing it, my last bash session out, which I'll put up soon, was a lot of fun. We found a new spot where we can do some really high-flying jumps and just a really cool place to run. But my servo went out finally. It was still the stock servo in there. This little guy here, these little waterproof Arrma, what are they, Durango servos. And the gears just went out. It didn't even go out on a jump. I actually hadn't really done much bashing yet, but I'm sure it's just taken some abuse over time. That's the stock servo. I think when Ryan had this truck from me, he did rebuild it once. But anyway, it's time for servo upgrade. So I know a lot of people complain about that plastic mount that's usually in there. So I went ahead and upgraded to the one from Voltage Hobbies. And I gotta say, those guys are super fast shipping, very fair price on this. Even sent me a little handwritten note. And you guys that shop with them probably have seen these. You know, just saying thanks for your supporting a small home business. Really cool. Anyway, super nice part. I know lighting's not great in there, but that thing is rigid now. It is not going anywhere. And I went ahead and picked up a Savox servo. This is the 1230. I haven't used these myself, but everybody seems to like them. And they're not too expensive, at least when it comes to servos. I know servos can be pretty pricey. So that's what's going on with the Outcast right now. Everything else is pretty good. I did buy a new front bulkhead for it because I did have a little plastic piece break, which you probably can't see. Maybe you can. But it's still working right now, so I'm not going to replace it until it actually goes. It's just where the screw mounts into the hole. I hit pretty hard and it busted that out. So otherwise, this thing's doing great. She's just a little dirty, so we'll get it cleaned up, get the new servo in there, and it should be good to go. I got the new servo put in, and I still have a problem. So I think what happened is we've got some kind of tension in the servo saver or the steering rack somewhere. And that's what caused our other servo to fail, and that's kind of what I was looking for. You know, I didn't do anything wrong before. You know, I've had servos bust on a big hit, but that stock Arrma one has lasted great. So there's something wrong, I think, in here, because even my Savox is doing the same thing. It's getting some binding and turning. So I've got this thing torn apart, put back together, as you can see. And what it was is I didn't know that Arrma uses bushings in their steering assembly, and they were seized up just from dirt and grime. You can see that one's still real nasty looking. So anyway, I pulled those out, put bearings in the assembly instead, and now it turns almost too well now. So that's all that was. Those looks like those bushings seized, and that's what caused my stock servo to fail. But either way, this is a great servo upgrade. I've got that Voltage Hobbies mount in there now with a nice Savox servo with a ton of torque for this truck and bearings inside of the steering assembly. So all together, I probably won't have any trouble there for quite a while, I hope. Anyway, so Outcast is done. I'm going to button it back up, and I'll show you what I got going on with the Losi. So now I got the Losi on the bench. I just want to give you a quick little overview of my experience so far. I took it out and ran it hard. You'll see hopefully in a video soon. Or you can check Rytek's page. He's already got one up. I'll link to that below. But I ran her hard. I mean, we went to this place with big jumps and a place where it's almost like a track for this thing. It's just huge dirt bike berms, and it's like a dirt bike course, basically. So ran it really hard. Had a lot of hard crashes. Ones that just hurt to watch, to be honest with you. And the only problem I had, you've got these huge, bulky arms on the front, right? Look almost impossible to break. Well, I broke one. I was able to fix it, and it's still going to run. I'm not even going to change the arm yet. But it broke right here. right there where that little eyelet sits in there. So on the truck, you can see where that is. I hope that's in focus, but it's right here where my finger's pointing. And it's got a little, basically a ball end that runs through there, and the screw just runs up and holds it in place. It pulled the ball end straight out through that plastic, just ripped it straight out. And the plastic just clamped right back down, so I was able to put it back together and run the truck. So I'm going to do that for now, but obviously it's going to come out a lot easier next time. So having this big giant arm makes you feel good at first, but then when you look at this, I mean, that is thin, very, very thin plastic. And I mean, I hit pretty good. I came down right on the wheel by itself. One, you know, kind of in the air like this, it hit the wheel, and you can see it put some flex on it. So it took a pretty hard hit, but still, you know, that's obviously the weakest link. So we'll see how it goes. I bought a pack to get a new arm right now. The only way to buy it was to get the entire front suspension. So I got a front upper and lower arms and the little guard that goes in between them. And it honestly wasn't bad. I can't complain too much. That entire package was 20 bucks. But I don't want to spend 20 bucks when all I needed was one arm, you know what I mean? I'd rather get just the arm for $5 or whatever it is. So not a huge problem. Definitely might be a little bit of a weak point though. The other problem is, let me get some light on it for you. So right where those links, those upper links connect, watch what happens at full compression here. Boom, hits the wheel, hits the spare tire. As soon as that happens and you're going full speed, this is a little plastic nut up here, okay? Rips right off, tire goes flying, you know, not good. That's how it sits on there. Pretty crappy design right there. I know they were probably fighting with space on this thing, but that smacks your rear tire and your rear tire goes flying. There's no keeping it on. Now you could replace this guy with a metal bolt, obviously, but then you're still putting all that pressure on this rear wheel, this spare wheel, and you know, I don't want to mess that up. Maybe I'll need that thing someday. So anyway, those are my only two complaints so far. Nothing huge. That's definitely a questionable design. I'm glad I have all this travel. You know, that's killer. But it smacks that spare tire bad. If this was just angled up, you know, if they change this mount to be angled, so this thing's not sitting flat, right? Set it up a little bit more, maybe even put it back further, you have no problem. But sitting the way that they designed it, that thing's smacking every time you go over a good bump. So only two complaints so far. It does stink I broke an arm, but it is still functional. I gotta give it that. But that's where I'm at. This thing takes huge beatings. You can see I was hitting it pretty hard. I actually kind of dinged up my body there a little bit, but for what it took, as far as abuse goes, I definitely was not airing it out. You know, just going over, when it broke, I actually just hit a small little berm, and it happened to roll over, and that's when it busted. But great truck. I'm still real happy with it, but I just wanted to report back to you guys with what I'm seeing so far. So thanks for checking things out. That's the stuff that's on my bench today, and I'll start trying to do a little bit more of this to kind of give you guys, those of you who are new to the hobby, maybe some pointers on how to fix some of these things and ways to upgrade some things so that you may not break things in the future. So anyway, thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.